It's gonna pop up on my laptop. There we go. Just go ahead and move them. Well, is my laptop gonna work and let me do what I have to do? There we go. And then this is still acting up on this side too. Nice. Well, regardless, welcome in when everyone gets in. There we go. Now everything's loaded. I don't know why it takes so long for that to load. Like, that's a weird issue. That's so bizarre to me. But yeah, welcome in, and you all get in. How's everyone doing? I should probably do that. I haven't done this in a while. But yeah, welcome in when you all get in. How are we doing? Welcome in, welcome in. How we doing? How we doing? Sorry I didn't see the message sooner. I was organizing the cards. Oh. Did I misplace one? I probably did misplace one. No, I didn't. It's behind. Oh, word, that's what's up. Oh, yeah. I'm glad to hear you're doing good. I'm doing well, too. Just chilling. Getting the cards set up for some pulls. Fun part. Welcome in, welcome in. How we doing? I'm doing well, I'm doing well. I'm Grand Rising. Where is it? Why am I blind from it? Alright, there we go. Welcome in, welcome in. How we doing, how we doing? How we doing? Well, thank you, Chime. I appreciate that. Fair. How we all doing? How we all doing? I'm a little tired today. I'm not gonna lie. I'm doing well. I'm just a little bit tired. But we're making it through. We're good. Being attacked. It's not good. Defend yourself so you don't have to become attacked, in that sense. Because if you're defending yourself, then there shouldn't be an attack. You know what I mean? Welcome in, Mark. Welcome in. How we doing? Love you as well. Yeah, I get that. Not all character development has to feel like an attack, though. If that's the sense, then the character trying to be developed is a lack of attachment. We're trying to remove why you would hold on to attachments in that sense. You know what I mean? Think on it for a minute, you know? Because if it's a personal development, it feels like an attack. You really have to look at what you're holding on to make it seem like that attack. You know what I mean? And once you get that down in the mental realm, like you get a solid mentality on that, that isn't like, too leaning on either side. It's balanced in that sense. You know what I mean? You'll have an easier time releasing things. You'll be more detached. Especially now because of like just the eclipse and how it is. A lot of people will try to do like rebinding stuff after eclipses. I've noticed, to try and get something to attach in that sense, because it's still within that energy for like 6 days basically. 9 days total, but like a pre and post season's like 3 days. We always got birds. We always get the birds. I'm telling you, once I start getting stuff like moving forward, I'm gonna start summoning birds up. I told you, y'all thought that was a joke. I'm gonna start learning how to speak bird and get that shit rolling. We had that conversation maybe like a month ago. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make sure about it. Oh, I really do. It just seems like something so fun to do. Just summon those birds up. We're gonna find ways to do it though. I think these are good and shuffled up enough. They should be. Yeah, birds protect. They give messages as well. They're very, very good at that. And thank you, Marina, for coming in and saying that. I appreciate it sincerely. Anyone needing 2 card pulls have anything they want to talk about per se? Any topics of the mind? Any questions? That's cool. Ego death? What about ego death? What about ego death? We can dive into that topic. So with ego death, the only thing that would prevent you from really seeing the end of that is because of I can't think of the word right now. A, why can I not? Why couldn't I say that? I'm sorry. It's like a refusal of self at that point. Not being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel when going through an ego death or changing your egoic state of being, which is your rational mind. It's because certain thought forms haven't yet been matured yet, or they're not receiving the right funding to be released. Um, so that requires more shadow work. Within ego death, you're still doing shadow and root work. The ego death is the transformation of that from one state of the ego to another. So, if you're having troubles during your ego death, whatever it's focused on, whatever part of you is shedding away the hardest, and that you can't um, release, or at least release in a peaceful manner, do this shadow work and root work that are like are needed to pull whatever's causing that blockage out. The only real person preventing you from getting to the end of it is you. So you're really needing to see where you're not releasing, and see where you're not allowing things to transpire. That feeling of having control is what needs to be mainly released in these types of situations when it involves ego death, because when you end up trying to control um, that process, it just ends up getting more and more messy. It then starts to bleed onto other things, and you end up getting like sucked around a lot in that sense. So be aware of that. And yeah, Mark, I can see why you might be thinking that, um, and see what we can do um, internal wise for sure. So Mark, your first card is the Seven of Pentacles reverse. This is definitely a time to kind of pull back and pull away. You may be getting over involved, which is why you are seeing other people doing things with an energy, maybe looking too deeply into things, or you've been in a very hyper aware, hyper vigilant state that kind of needs to go into a silence mode, or at least lessened in this time. It's really not a time for working. It's really a call to say the wait for the divine. With seven, especially being seven in reverse, it's talking a lot about not waiting, but really allow yourself to not do anything on the physical, as this isn't necessarily a matter um, that needs anything done on the physical. There needs to be a withdrawing of something, a walking away. I forgot to get the second card. Yeah, we have the King of Wands reverse. So this is showing an unfinished and an immature idea that is coming up. So the idea that you have of these attacks happening aren't necessarily attacks. It's a facade in that sense, where you're looking too deeply into things, or you're not allowing things to move fully forward within the divine realm to see the purity of what's happening in that sense. So watch out for that fully at this time. It's kind of like take a step back because you're too close within a situation. It could just be pet peeves within those individuals that are popping up that are causing those types of feelings and thoughts to occur. So just be very aware of that at this time. Yeah, I got you. I got you, Hidden. I got you. Can you get 2 animal? Yeah, I can get you 2 animal. So Julie, these are your angel cards. We have the Queen of Gabrielle, passionate, charming, brilliant, independent. You can do anything right now. The ability to go. You can do anything right now. Go after what you want, and the ability to attract helpful people. And the Ace of Raphael, a positive, new emotional experience, fulfilling romantic relationships, and deep, lasting spiritual insights. So, for general guidance, it's kind of up to you on what you're desiring. What's your next goal in mind? With things kind of being in a completion area where things are just kind of settled out, if you already have a goal in mind, what's the next step that you can take? It might not be one that's desirable or seen as needed immediately, but just seeing where you can walk, kind of get those plans started. Um, and as well, like while working with this and moving forward, keep in mind the spiritual lessons that are coming from it in that sense. And look deeper past like waiting periods, or as things are working smoothly or things are getting bumpy. Check in with yourself as well, like how am I actually feeling today, and seeing that those types of responses, so you can help move forward in a more clean way. But yeah, Steven, we can get your 2 animal cards real quick. And sure, what do you want the reading on, and what deck? The animal deck, the angel deck, the shadow deck, and the tarot deck. So Steven, your 2 animal cards are hippopotamus, which is exploration. If you become bored with your life, you have the creative power to stir things up and revitalize everything. You can do this by starting new projects, setting new goals, and making spiritual connections. And bat, which is transition. You must pay attention to the signs around you. The transition may seem frightening at first, but you must let go of old habits and patterns that no longer serve your higher calling. They would only hinder your growth. And those are your 2 animal cards. And yeah, you can get a reading. What do you want it on, and from what deck? The tarot deck, the angel deck, the shadow deck, or the animal deck? And just let me those things, and we'll get that. I appreciate love that, Mark. I put the water over here. I appreciate love that, Mark. I did the same. Things are going a lot quicker than I thought. Truly, with how things are. I'm not going to go into too much detail just yet. Obviously, I don't want to. For specific reasons. But right now, things are moving on pretty well. Yeah, this is the blue rhombus water. And tarot cards. Okay, but what do you want reading about? Like, what subject is this reading going to be on? Yeah, I can get you with it. On love, I got you. Anita, tarot doesn't work like that. Tarot is not for future uh, telling or fortune telling or future predictions. Um, Doing that is lying, and it's not telling the truth of what tarot is. It's not giving accurate information. You can't pull that with tarot cards. But yeah, I can get you in. What do you want the reading on? I got you with that. So, Dakota, your first card is the Knight of Pentacles. When it's coming down to love, there is something on the physical that's transpiring. So really around you right now, see what is creating these feelings of love. Don't judge them for being good or bad or being a lot or for little. Just see what around you is causing you to feel certain ways, or what's causing you to truly take action in whichever way that you're moving forward with. But if this is like looking for love or seeing success in doing something that you are loving, there is a success with that. There is a forward movement in that sense. But right now, you're not drawing up any of that information. You're not sitting down and seeing where that love is coming from and like what it's stemming from, really, in that sense. So that's what you're needing to do at this time, is really, before taking any new steps forward, sit back and see what in you is causing that love to come up, so you can better know where you're walking into with this love, and if you need to like change anything about it to your to your personal taste, if you have one with that, you know what I mean, or however. But just really be observatory moving forward, and just be in a more feeling state. That doesn't mean it to be more reactive. It just means to feel more of what's going on, you know what I mean. Say less and observe more with that. Yeah, I can do one tarot. I can do one from the tarot and one from the angel deck. We can definitely do that. I got you, no worries. No worries. Let me go ahead and shuffle these up. I think we're gonna get both of them. From the shadow deck, I got you. Well, tarot's not gonna really tell you how to reconnect, what you should choose to reconnect with your child. That's really a decision that you need to figure out on your own. And like going about it in that sense, we can figure out what's keeping you from taking the steps moving forward to reconnect from the daughter. But it's not going to necessarily like tell you when or anything of that nature, if that's what you're looking for. But we can do it on it, like what blockages are there on an internal state. But Marina, the tarot card that you have is the Eight of Cups. So there's something that you definitely do need to be moving forward from. There is something that you're trying to walk away from and detach from. Just know moving forward that there is a better path. If things are seeming rough, to kind of see where that rough patch is leading you. And we had the Three of Michael. Release your past, you will grow from the situation, and time heals all wounds. So if you are having trouble moving forward from something, it is because of a past issue that hasn't quite been healed. And there's something that's connected to that past situation now. Even if it might not seem very obvious, it could just be the way that the trauma is appearing up on the physical that kind of needs to be healed with both like the fleshly desire and the spiritual desire of it. So paying really close attention to the things that you are letting go, and instead of, you know, fighting against why it's so hard to let go, kind of just see that it's needed to be let go due to you wanting to fight for it. There shouldn't be a need to fight to have anything that actually is desirable for you. You know what I mean? So pay attention to those pulls in this sort of sense. Just how? Well, yeah, we can figure out the blockages on the internal side for you to see like what's keeping you from going towards them in that sense. But if you're looking for any other sort of sense other than that, Tara won't be able to give you the answer for it. But I got you. You don't have to worry about those portals. Those, you know, there's not a need to worry about that. That's old news. That's already gone and passed. It's all good. Yeah, we don't have to worry about those portals. Those, you know, it's all good. Yeah, we have really good birds around here. Like we get all sorts of bird noises. I won't really be able to tell you any type of bird I hear, unfortunately. Unless it's just a crow or a raven, but other than that, I don't know. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen a mourning dove. I might have. I'm not too sure. But owls I'm very familiar with. It's very rare, but there's barn owls here. There's more barn bats than barn owls, though. No, I've never seen one. Hold on. No, I have. I haven't seen one in person, though. I've seen mourning doves, just not in person. I miss seeing cardinals. I used to like rise every rising, and I have at least 2 to 3 cardinals outside. We'd get the occasional blue jay. I don't see those birds where I'm at anymore. I miss them. That and hummingbirds, dude. I miss hummingbirds too. They're adorable. I've seen one owl in person. That's about it. Is it okay to ask you? Your future is dependent on your present. So if you're wanting a better future, start thinking now about what the goal for your future would be, and be open to the advice for forward movement in that sense. Because what the ego wants from that question is to hear a yes, but what's really going to nurture it and allow it to grow and allow your soul to grow as well is to know that everything is only going to work as well as it's working currently. The future always, is going to remain in that chaotic state of unknown. So it's really up to us in this present moment to create the future, not not creating a step-by-step plan in one day, but literally just by planning the end goal. Like, this is what I'm desiring for it. And then moving forward on that level. Because as long as you have the main goal of what you want, the steps can just be made and led by the divine. All you have to do is just remember the why. Remember the mirrored image, I guess, is the word that I'm trying to find. Oh my goodness, Goddess is here. Let's go. It's been a while. What's up? How you been? A lot of times when you feel lost when moving forward, it's because you're on a path that's unfamiliar. It's not that you're lost in a bad sense. It's just you're doing things that are different. You're trying out that new skin, that new person you're trying to be to reach the end goal. So you might just be taking steps that aren't familiar or just comfortable for you in this state as well. But truly, the answer to that, and the answer but that's going to be digging, really fully through the reading as well, which is connecting to that heart space, and connecting yourself again to the end goal of what you're desiring to see. And as well as really just, sorry, I read a message and my brain just went blank. I shouldn't have done that. No, but just remembering the why and allowing the divine to fill in the steps. Always, asking your guides, your ancestors for guidance to show you that you're going on the right path. To see the signs, reading more into angel numbers, knowing numerology, and reading more of the realm. Because when you're lost, the realm has the answers rather than you. When you know where you're at, it's because you're familiar with it on a soul level or an egoic level, either one. But yeah, we can mod Goddess. Of course, no worries. Wait, hold on. I forgot all about. I just now remember. Who wanted this shadow death? Synth did. Sorry, Synth. It happened. I knew it was gonna happen. I have your shadow reading. It's going up. We got it. We got it. All right. So, why am I struggling right now? Anyway. All right. So your first card is embodiment of evil, which is Mars energy. Uh, aggression, humiliation, rudeness, injustice, brawler, disruption, a crisis point, uh, inflictor of injury. What I'm kind of getting with this is if you're not going through like a mental state of being harsh on yourself, which would cause the cruelty. There's more of a point of indecision, or like a point of the road that you haven't quite looked at yet because you're not wanting to deal with it. And it has a lot to do, and that's so interesting. We have two majors. And then the other one is Hecate, which is Venus energy. So it has a lot to do with like a self-believing, a believing in self, a feminine nature, that nurturing of self that needs to take that needs to be applied to moving forward. Excuse me. But we have patience, a guide through the labyrinths, freedom from old emotional ties, attachments, resentments, and habits, preventing personal development, the right time to evaluate actions, a crossroads, dependence on the moon phases, prophetic dreams, fruitfulness, nurturing, synthetics, willing to help others, the success of hard work. So it's a lot of these past cycles that are kind of falling off of you, where it involves being too harsh on yourself or being judgmental over a situation. It's lessening that part. So you may be getting tested by having a lot of things just pop up and poke you. And it's not to harm you, it's not to like make you upset, but it's to see what parts of you are being worked on in that sense. So pay very close attention to like what's triggering you at this time. Can I pull an animal deck? I got you, Jennifer. Yeah, try and find your flow again of nurturing yourself spiritually. It's not always going to be something that you work on 24/7, right? As being spiritual beings having a human experience, right? But we're actually told that backwards. We're really spiritual beings having a human experience, because if we were a human having a spiritual experience, that's the exact opposite of what we are now. That would be the invisible having a visible experience, but we're technically the visible having an invisible, right? Regardless, just get back into the flow of spirituality. Don't free. It's okay to be like more grounded on the 3D than in the spiritual at times. It's an even flow, right? Yeah, I get exactly what you mean, since I completely get it. But Jennifer, your animal cards are cat, which is independence. You are being encouraged to develop a balance between independence and time of togetherness. This will also indicate that you would greatly benefit from a profound journey of self-discovery. Learn to enjoy time spent with yourself. And armadillo, protection. You're entering a phase where, in order for you to be in alignment with your intentions and co-create your best life, you may have to be discerning and say no to many things that have been holding you back in the past. Of course, since I got you, no worries. It's just what we do. Two from tarot, just general. Yeah, I got you. I got you. Let's see. So your first card is Justice Reverse. There's parts of you that are kind of being imbalanced. Check where your moral compass is. You might be letting certain things slide that shouldn't necessarily be, you know, slidden on in that sense. So kind of see where your boundaries are being changed. You might be going through a time of transforming between certain boundaries of being more strict on some and less strict on others, you know, trying to find that balance for it. So kind of see where you're changing in that sense. What things aren't you wanting to stand for anymore, and what things are you willing to stand for in that, you know, and keeping that balance in glue, because right now things might be imbalanced. You could do some third eye cleanses as well. This could be releasing of old dogmatic systems that have kept you from doing certain things because you've deemed them to be bad, rather than just seeing it as a stance to stand up for yourself. But regardless, with the moon reverse, this is a very conscious time, very mental, like on the forefront. um so it could be like head heavy issues right now, but regardless, this is just kind of showing you and bringing you through an experience where you're going through things that you know that you don't stand for, or things that kind of go against what you want to have happen, just to set a more firm boundary between that energy and what you're going for. um and it's not to say that, and it's not like a repeating cycle. It's just like, it's like a checkup on yourself. Like your guides are like, so what are your new boundaries? Like what are you going to allow into this new life, this new phase, and what are you going to not allow in this new phase? Things of that nature. If you feel your family pulling you back to the past, see where your ties are with them. Do that root work. Everyone talks about shadow work, but when you really get down to the healing game, it's about root work. The shadow work just shows you what's being hidden, and once that light is shined upon those things, that's where the root work hits. So shadow work can kind of be seen as like figuring out who the problem is and what the problem is, right? But it's not in, you know, the effect of the problem. But root work is showing you the cause, the true internal cause, the part of you that's holding on to whatever energy, whatever attachment in that sense. So that might be what you're needing to do heavily, is just go deeper within that shadow work, that root work. And that, like, you know, especially if you're having issues with like feeling tied to something or obligated to do something by like a higher force or something, really doing that shadow work to figure out what's higher than you, in that sense. Because even though we would like to imagine and think that, oh, these slower vibrations of sadness or whatever people say for that, right? You know, that lower vibration can't catch up to me because I'm too high vibrational, and that's not true, because the higher that you raise your vibration, the lower your old vibrations are going to be. um so it's again like these past ties of, oh, I don't really feel like that. And it's going to be a lot of back and forth where you're going to be like, well, I don't agree with this person, but I could have handled the situation better. I'm still not going to agree with them though. You know what I mean? Like finding your own balance, not being persuaded to try and be in the middle, but to be more grounded in yourself. You know what I mean? Because we get misconceptions of certain words, like self-centered. we tend to look at that word as it being one whole thing, but it's a compound of self and centered, being centered into self. So it can be stable. The only way to make things stable is by being in the middle of it. You know, the main focus is seeing what it's doing, and not necessarily its surroundings in that sense. So really, just seeing what you're desiring to do and knowing that it's okay. A lot of these ties that people feel with family and stuff is because, like, in friends, family, doesn't matter what it is, it's because we add that label of they're this to me or they're that to me, rather than just seeing them as a part of you. We end up externalizing it fully. How do you do root work? Root work is figuring out the cause. So you already know the effect. You know what's going on. You know the external value. Try to figure out the internal value. That's root work. What in you ended up flipping a switch from not seeing something as an issue to seeing it as an issue, and figure out how you can turn that switch off again. In other words, if you had your ice cream slapped out of your hand by your friend, and now you don't let people stand next to you when you're holding ice cream, figuring out what triggered that. Well, it was just you don't want your ice cream knocked over, right? That's the cause of the effect. That effect is coming from like a fear state of not trusting people, right? You're trying to a trust issue at the end of the day, right? It's a smaller version of one, still a trust issue, right? That's the root work, is figuring out what it actually is, not labeling it as a person, not labeling it as like a place or a series of events, but labeling it as what it truly is. It's that response that you have to look at. And not many people talk about the root work, mainly because when people hear root work, they think you're talking about cutting up vegetables and putting it in your backyard and whatting with it. And no, that's not root work. I mean, that is root work, right? That's a form of root work. But when we're talking about it from a healing standpoint, because it matters, it's it's more of really focusing um, on the cause of things. Where is it being buried at? What things is it sticking into? And what is it bled onto? Because now that, let's say you don't have a trust issue with people who slap that ice cream cone on your hand. Now you have, now you're reading more into body language, and it's causing all these other issues. You don't feel safe around certain environments anymore. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it leaches on to all these different aspects of self, like, very slowly. So getting down to the root work is what's going on. And as well, with a lot of root work, um, root work really isn't done with anything involving the external. It's all done internal. So it's important to, um, yeah, because you're not just dealing with your parents' trauma. You're also dealing with your soul's trauma. You keep the same soul. You just go in different bodies. You are the soul moving around into different bodies, right? So it's not even just your parents, it's your experience as well. And the only reason why your parents are your parents and their souls are there is because they need to learn something from you. Retrospectively, you need to learn something from them. And it sways from extremes to less and less the more lifetimes you go through and the more lessons that you learn. Um, just as things go. That doesn't mean it's always going to be less and less, but it's going to be less of one thing and more of another to keep that balance in check. And you can learn about those issues from your astrology chart and just reading into that. And I appreciate that post about to look at. Thank you. Thank you for that. But it's always going to be, root work's always going to be that internalization. Shadow, because, like, shadow work is kind of easy. A lot of people end up doing shadow work by literally pointing their finger, you know. They say, "Oh, so and so did this to me." Yeah, they did. And now you're upset because of those actions. That's just doing the shadow work. You just got to figure out, you know, "Oh, I'm upset at this individual because they did this and it made me feel this way," right? That's the shadow work. The root work is figuring out why it made you feel that way. You know, being born in purity, being born without having any form of you know, pessimistic thought form or fear tactic thought form like built in you inherently. What caused it? Where did it come from? You know what I mean? We're not born scared. We're born curious. We're beaten into being afraid. We're yelled at and scolded into being afraid. We got to figure out why that scared us, why it put us in that position. And you can say, "Oh, it's because I was a child, and that's just traumatic to do as a child." But still, why? What part of your soul got triggered? What is a problem that you see yourself facing every day, even when it comes down to you and yourself and on by yourself, you know? Because it goes all the way back. You can go back 7 lifetimes and you still wouldn't even have the basis of the real root that you're facing. You can do all the root. I'll be honest with you. You can do all the root work you want this lifetime. Next lifetime, you're gonna do more root work of fine tuning the root work you did in this life, which is why like you go through so many challenges at once, but they're all the same thing. And it's just acceptance at the end of the day. If we're really going to talk about it, it's really that simple. It's just acceptance. We don't like to accept things. We've been told not to accept things. And then we live in a world where we can't tell what's real and fake, so now we don't even know if we do want to accept anything. And we end up dividing ourselves up even more because we can't even trust our own self to guide us, let alone someone else. You know what I mean? And that's because we're supposed to be living our own different lives and not like boxed in. But yeah, you can get a reading, Sarah. What deck do you want it on, and what's the subject, and I can get you. Yeah, basically, every past up until your soul was like first conceived, which would be by mother and father. Um, the higher forces. But everything else is all the way back, and it's like a survival thing. We're, you know, we're survivalists by nature, unfortunately, and it's because we've been kind of prone into thinking that way. So we got to do all that inner work and leave survival mode, because that's a root um, element of us. If we can't, and you can break it, it just takes a while. But once you do that, the evolution part will continue moving forward. I can't pick up anything about anyone else because doing that with tarot is not how tarot is used, and people who do that are lying in that sense. Um, that's a different art form entirely when it comes down to it. But I can figure out uh, why you would have questions about their serenity of their love towards you. And that would be with a reading with the connectivity between you and yourself in that sense. And welcome in, Chica. A general reading? I got you. I got you. So right now we have the Ace of Wands for your first card. Ace of Wands talks about the first stages of something. The very first card within the suits. And the aces are all about pyre. Ancients are all about the funding from spirit that we're receiving. And right now, you have either received, excuse me, you've either been faced with an idea that you've been wanting to take action upon, or there is something forming, in a sense, where there's going to be a new start, a new beginning of just a new beginning, excuse me. We have the high priestess that comes out. And this kind of tells me that there's not solid evidence of anything right now. There's not really much physical proof. It's just this feeling state, this energy, this whatever you're receiving, is causing, a lot of cloudiness, a lot of mystery to be there. But there's something about waiting in line, like following the rules of it, allowing the energy that you're feeling right now to guide you, not to cling tightly to it, but allow it to be as fuel, so you can see what's really being shown to you at this time. But definitely make sure that as well that your mind is not playing any tricks on you as you're receiving and in this energy, in this mist of something being formed and created. Whether this is something that is desirable or undesirable, it is being fueled and fed into with the Ace of Wands being up. With the High Priestess, again, make sure your mind's not pulling any tricks on you, because it could be something from the past event or a subconscious belief that's allowing a certain energy to kind of be flustered around you. If you're wanting forward movement within your current situation, definitely take a step back and kind of see what else around you has moved on, because those areas are also going to be connected to your current situation. So when you figure out like what's moving around you, then you can start removing the blockages that's keeping your current situation to move forward. That would be based from those past energies, because everything current is based off of past actions, right? Um, so kind of always remembering that, even if it's something that you've done shadow work on and said that you've healed from ages ago, and it pops up again, it's because there's something deeper inside of you that you hit that's connected to that point, or at least and flared that point up again. So just be very, very, very aware of that at this time. And don't overthink it or panic about it either. Just allow it to truly exist, and just know that it's showing itself to you as a gesture of being released, and not a gesture of, hey, look at me, let me panic you. Instead of that, just let it be like, hey, I'm showing myself to you so I can leave, because our time is over. There's not a need to contemplate about this or a need to feel this anymore. Just allow that energy to move forward, and move with move with that energy. Um, you may have to release dependency. Um, you might not have had. You could. It just could be like. I'm trying to figure out the words to say. I know what I'm trying to say. I don't know if there's an actual term for it or not. Um, but it could be a lack of praise that you're kind of wanting, like that. It's like leeching onto an attention sort of thing, where you become like it's like being a workaholic almost. Like you can't stop improving, and it might be because of you trying to heal that part of you, that didn't receive that gratification growing up or moving forward. um, so kind of see if that's where that root's coming from. But if you're needing help really releasing yourself from improving and trying to show people that you're improving, show yourself that you're improving, because you're not really wanting a specific individual to notice that you've healed. You're just wanting confirmation from something or from someone to show you that you have, and that's keeping you stuck in a past cycle of looking for that validation outside, or doing a lot of stuff that keeps you from seeing that. So really start saying to yourself that you're seeing your growth in that sense. Um, all things that we look out externally can be solved internally in that state. So really make sure that you're um, saying how much that you how happy you are that you're improving, Don't wait for someone else to say it. Start saying it to yourself. Um, because what I've noticed, even like saying it to yourself, this will happen too. But if you don't work on it with yourself, if someone else were to say, "Oh, look, look at you working on yourself. I'm proud of you," though that's gonna help you, that's also gonna boost that part of you that's like, "Well, have you been working on yourself? Because look at all these other things that you've done that you haven't worked on as much as you should have, and stuff of that nature." Your ego will then be able to, or start working that way sometimes. So it's important to start saying it to yourself, so that when someone else says it to you, you can have up that same defense of like, no, I am doing the work, I am healing, I am growing, I am releasing things, no matter how big or small they may be, I'm still releasing them. And the more that you realize it for yourself, the more it will come out externally. It might come from someone saying that you changed in a rude manner, or letting it just be like that, or getting congratulations on it from someone else on an external standpoint. That, or just feeling the gratification internally on itself. But really really work with that, because the more you work with it on yourself, the easier it's going to be for you to accept it externally. And when you're only working for that one reason, it's harder to obtain. Like, you know what I mean? So just really focus on that, and it's kind of see even where that attachment started from. You know what I mean? When did you stop self-validating? Or in not even that, but when did you stop trusting that your self-validation was worthy enough, in that sense? You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we do self-validate, it's just we don't actually believe it. We're not actually trusting ourselves in that sense. So it's important to also like question yourself on that aspect. Like, so what's going on in me that's not allowing me to believe or to know that these things are working for me? Why do I still have this past version of myself showing up? And what is it trying to show me, rather than what is it doing to hinder me? Because it's only keeping you from hurting yourself. What we don't understand is our nervous system operates a lot on what we receive, and we want to be in these instantly fixed situations, right? But imagine actually being in that situation. You would think it's bliss right now because you're going through so much, and the removal of all that instantly would be a pressure off of you. But if that actually happened, your nervous system would freak the fuck out. You would have everything that you wanted, and you wouldn't know what to do. Maybe you would get all the money that you wanted, but you'd overspend, and now you don't have any of it left anymore. Or all your issues went away, so that and you start walking out and meeting new people, but that trauma is still there and it hasn't been healed. So you end up bleeding on those newer people, and then they leave, and it's like, well, what the hell happened? It's that nervous system that hasn't caught up yet. So a lot of it's like calming that nervous system. We're getting rid of that stress, that self-doubt, that sacral chakra energy. Really, it's the sacral, the solar plexus, and the throat that are really attacked by that, and they keep you in your root chakra, and that keeps you very unstable, very scared, very agitated, in a mood of lack, whether that's lacking sleep or however. But doing that is something very important. The only set prices I have for the readings are the ones on my website. Other than that, there's no donation price. Donations are appreciative, but not necessary. Um, it's just there for the ones that wish to donate. But I do the 2 card pulls for free. I just enjoy doing them. Of course, Nicole. I do it from the bottom of my heart. I love doing this shit. I love the healing journey. I love helping people on that stance. It's just so fun. Because I've done it a lot for myself, and it's just, I don't know. The more you can free yourself of it, the better it gets. The more confusing it is to the general public, the better it is for you. Like, actually. Yeah, I completely get that, Marina. I really do. Um, the best way you can go about that is, and this is one way I used to do it a lot, is instead of applying the flesh labels, like instead of it being my mother or my father, it was what is my feminine side doing, what is my masculine side doing. Same thing for sister, brother, doesn't matter what they are, I'm seeing where that relationship is. With grandmas and or like older ones, like grandmas, aunts, uncles, and things that, and grandpas and stuff, that could be a relationship between you and your higher self. Even if you want to take it that far, your parents could also be a version of your higher self in that sense, you know. Regardless, stripping the flesh as much as you can away to like what the energy of those individuals are is what you're really trying to go for. So kind of just see it as what part of my masculine nature did not receive um, the gratitude of doing something. You know, where did my efforts seem lacking, and when did I get put down for feeling, or when did I shut down my feelings, or how did I box my feelings in, or how was my feelings unaccepted in that sense, and then breaking it down that way. It's not about not pointing fingers at people. That's the end goal, of course. But sometimes you have to point your fingers at an individual before you can truly get down to that healing point. You know, you have to take the steps that you need to take. And some people have to be in that scapegoating, blaming energy for quite some time. And that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just what it is. You know, if you have to do it, you have to do it. There's no shame in the game. Play it how you need to, right? So it's all about you not beating yourself up for it, because eventually that will stop falling off. Eventually it won't bother you anymore. You won't care about it anymore in that sense of it actually not being around you, um, something that you're not involved in anymore. And it's not because you pushed it down so much, it's just because you've evolved with it and it's shown you all the things that it's needed to show you. Exactly, Nicole. Like if you've ever had a conversation with your parents and stuff about their parents, and you'll figure out a lot about that. Because my dad, his dad was military, and his mom, was it his mother? It was, I can't remember if it was mother or his father. I think it was his mother. She had only one arm, like missing both legs and an arm and a hand, excuse me. So he did not receive very much nurturing. Like nine brothers and six sisters. He was old. He's like in his 70s when I was adopted. But like definitely I see where the trauma in his life was rooted from and how it played out with that sense. Um, but just grasping at it in that sense to kind of see what part of you um, was on the opposite spectrum. You know what I mean? Because it's not a because no one does anything to anyone without it being relatable. Like you're oh, if you do something to someone, it's because part of you relates with it. You know, you have to relate it or relay it, which is what we're trying to say when you say relate, right? Is you're just doing it again. But I got you, post public. And Gavin, card readings are free. You don't have to donate. They're appreciated. Loved. There's not really a set price for them, but I appreciate love the donation if and you do decide to. If not, no worries. But yeah, I'll get you your. I'll call you Wildflower. I don't know why I keep calling you Post Apocalypse. I'm gonna call you Wildflower. But I'll get your two card real quick. There is always a thread behind behaviors. Uh, it may be. Right now, sure. Right now, I can remember Vera. For tomorrow is a different story. Um, we'll do our best. Sometimes I remember people's names and I'll say it, and other times I'll say their username. Uh, it really depends. I can't keep solid with you on that one, unfortunately. But your first card is the Four of Wands. Right now, there is a bunch of confusion. The reason why you're asking these questions is because you're not really as engaged with yourself as you need to be. Really ask yourself, what areas are you not relaxing in and what areas are you over relaxed in? Getting that balance back. When you're out of balance, it's always a mindset, not never a feeling state. So really see where your mind is more occupied at this time, and kind of feel out what's going on with that. This could also be an avoidance, procrastination of doing something. It has a lot to do with time and matter. So it could be you're under time crunches and you're not feeling like able to do something, or events around you are kind of just crushing you slowly and slowly, and you don't know how to work out of that sense. And but regardless, this does have a lot to do with action coming together in that sense. Um, this could even just be struggles with things moving forward. But the Three of Pentacles, see the plan. There's something about a misdirection, not really hitting the nail where it needs to be. Improper building. So with the Three of Pentacles upright, you have the hammer, the chisel, and the hammers in the right, the chisels in the left, respectively. The priest in the back in the white, and the feminine who's holding the instructions. But this being in reverse is saying you're not listening to the divine, you're not listening to the priest. So take time and listen to your heart. There are things that you actually desire to do, and there are things that you're doing out of stress, out of that discombobulation with self. So really focus on that. I mean, goodness, Chica, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But really stay focused on the plan. And if you don't, and again, if you don't have a plan, that's always a lie. I'm gonna tell you that right now, because you have half a plan. At all times, you have half of a plan. You have either what you desire or what you don't desire, right? So that's what you need to figure out. Is, if you have what you don't want, figure out what you're wanting, and then allow your mind to focus on that and fixate on what it needs to do to get you there, right? Because it already has what you don't want. So always focus in on that. Always focus in on that. Are you chosen? I don't know. What are you choosing? Do you want to be chosen? And if chosen for what? And then after chosen for what is preventing you from choosing that yourself? You know what I mean? You really have to ask yourself that question. I know that didn't make much sense probably, but if you're going to be chosen, what are you choosing to be chosen for? Hey, if you're showing love, you're showing love. That's just how it be. And if you're wanting to spread love, that's perfectly fine. I love you too, brother or sister, whichever, whomever. I appreciate you as well. That's what I'm here to do. You're a dude. I got you, brother. I got you. But yeah. How's everyone's day been? Oh, update. The thing I had to get finished yesterday, I got it complete yesterday, and that was fun. So I could take my next steps. I'm having an amazing day, honestly. I didn't do much today, and that was kind of agitating for me, but um, I got through it. I'm kind of just in another planning phase, but I'm having a beautiful day. Yeah, they always try and get you to sacrifice to be a sacrifice, but you can't be sacrificed unless you're willing. As long as you're fighting that good fight, you can't get sacrificed. They need you to be able to be on that agreement for anything of that to work. I don't either. It can pop up and it can express itself. The negative Nancy part can, my inner negative Nancy can express itself, but it's not gonna dictate how I'm gonna be. It can not have fun, but I'm gonna have fun regardless. I don't care. I'm sending you much love back as well. That's what we're doing here, though. Remember who you are. You're not these labels that people call you. You're literally everything. You are God's child. And if you need anything to really just motivate you about anything in life, just know that you have come from a creators. You have been created on this realm. And we are here to do things. So just do something. Have fun. Like, don't stress about it. Because stress is going to find you regardless. Stress is just spread out pressure. It's just build up. It's just a chemical reaction. So just do what you do best. Feel. Learn how to use your feelings. Don't make a compound out of it. Just allow yourself to sit with it. I love you as well. I'm not really sure what you're saying. I don't speak French, unfortunately. But I love you as well. How old am I? I'm 25. Been working out too. Awesome. See, that's one thing. Like, a lot of people will hear like work out and exercise and when you're stressed out. And you think that's like the worst thing you can do. That's probably the best things you can do. If you're over stressing or you're in your head too much, literally go do like 5 push-ups. Literally, it takes like 5 push-ups, and then you're already focused on how like how your body is and like doing other things, or like go on a walk or run, go on a treadmill, or do some form of exercise. Actually, you just wipe your brain clean. It gives it something to focus on. Even if you're thinking about it and doing the exercise, you're still removing it from you. You know, those thoughts, which is really just steam and mist, is coming into a liquidated form and being expelled out of your body in that sense. Oh, I appreciate that, Marina. I do as well. I truly love everyone here. Like, even the ones that aren't here. And it doesn't even matter. It's just about one love. It truly is. Like, I don't know. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated. But a lot of people make it overcomplicated. Yeah, I have videos up about my story. I have 2 of them on my channel, and both of them are not complete stories either. It's like a rough breakdown, but I've had a crazy life. Yeah, I used to stream on Twitch, so I kind of got the hang of how it is being with chat. And I don't just come here to read cards and shit. I interact with people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't just, it's not just about the cards. It's really about getting out to people on an individualistic way, and letting them be seen. Like, because listen, it's one thing to just be like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna help people by doing this one thing, and another of actually like interacting with them. Like, you're as far as I know, and I can't be 100%. I'm gonna clean off my camera. Um, it was a little smudged, but I can't, like, as far as I know, there's other people on the other side of the screen that I'm on. It's not just me looking at usernames. I talk to people. It's not just about reading a few cards and then moving on with my day. If I can at least touch some people's souls and hearts to move forward with their life and truly know who they are more, and know the true universal love that we have around us at all times, I'm good. You know what I mean? That's really all I care about, is getting that connection out. Because at the end of the day, like, all the people who are reading cards, they're always going to be around. The actual, like, inner connection is rare when it comes down to the human, like, I don't know, we just need to be more connected. I'm rambling and I'm not thinking because I'm trying to multitask and it's not working right now. I'm in the middle. I like my alone time. I like being around people. Um, but it depends. With the further friends, no, I don't hang. I don't have anyone on the physical that I hang out with, per se. Um, I just go around talking to random people. The only people I have who are solid are online friends, and we meet up sometimes. Um, but no. I used to, though. I used to hang out with my friends all every weekend. Uh, just split apart, just how time be. As well, I lost a lot of friends. I went into diving. I literally announced it like multiple times. I was like, "Hey, I'm about to just disappear off the face of the earth for 5 years. If anyone wants to hang out, let me know." No one let me know, so I dead ass disappeared for 5 years. Didn't talk to anyone. No one heard from me, and then started reaching back out to people. Just, if they connect, they connect. They don't, they don't. No one gave a shit. I gave people warnings, and then I did it again 3 years ago. I was like, I'm gonna go delve into deeper stuff. You know. Do I have a long list? No, the list isn't even. There's no list at all tonight. I, I, I do my best to be a good person. I don't come at people with judgment, and even if I do get a judgment in my mind, I don't say it because I immediately reflect on it. I I don't know. We all have our things that we work through, and the biggest thing to work through is a sense of control, and that's just something we just have to struggle with it. Uh, Finding new friends isn't really a goal of mine, per se. If people want to connect with me and form a relationship, sure, cool, but it's not something that I actively go out and search for. Um, I'll let there just be very friendly moments, like friendly interactions. You know what I mean? But yeah, I can get you a general reading. But I don't hold a grudge towards anyone. I don't I don't judge lifestyles. I don't judge belief systems. I ain't got room for it. I've gone through a lot of walks of life. I've met a lot of interesting people, and I've had to do a lot of healing work. I've just stopped really caring. You know, I'll express myself the way I need to express myself, and after that, I review it. But yeah, I just keep friendly interactions a thing. But yeah, let me get you your. I was about to ask, what do you want your general reading on? I'm so sorry. I was looking like general reading. What do you want the general reading on? What that's the whole point of getting a general reading. Brain farts. Always follow your heart. Always, always. But yeah, let me get your 2 card real quick. So your first card is Judgment Reverse. There's a higher self, a higher part of you that you might not be hearing clearly and or listening to at this time. This could also be telling of a soon to be call from a divine place. It just hasn't happened yet, or you've received it in minor ways. This could also be something that's happening repeatedly in your life that you're not seeing the clarification from. It's like a rise from your grave type energy. Like there's something that's keeps getting brought up, whether directly to you or adjacently, that is supposed to like get your attention for some reason that you're not seeing. Yeah, with the 8 of Swords, again, like unblock it. You might be thinking that, oh, this isn't relayed or something of that doesn't matter. But there's a certain thought form that you're having that's kind of pushing you away and putting you in a trapped energy where you're not able to receive a certain call, a certain stretch of direction moving forward. So really pay attention to that. See like the cloudy areas of your life or your situation right now, and ask for clarification and kind of see where you are, and see if you're blocking anything from it, and if you're not blocking anything from it, you know, that you can sense, or attach, or you know, nothing's attaching to it to keep it from coming through to you. Definitely talk with your guides, work with your angels, work with the divine to kind of see um what is trying to be shown to you. You know, be more attentive to that aspect, because there is like an unheard voice that's kind of going through. I got you, Stephanie. Yeah, you can use super chat. It's perfectly fine. But did you want it from the tarot deck, or did you want it from any other deck, Stephanie? Tarot, got you. And of course, Chica, I got you. Truly a pleasure. Huh. I didn't know that. That's actually really interesting to know, Stephanie. I didn't know the term for that. You lost connection earlier. Unfortunate. But here's your cards. Oh, the 2 of Wands upright. Two. I don't. I got really shocked for some reason. Don't really know why. 2 of Wands though. Um, this is a sign to show that there's a clearance almost. The divine's kind of seeing where you want to go next. This is just showing you that you're being backed in whatever decision that you make. You just need to be sure that you're willing to walk the path moving forward. The world's in your hand at this time, and it's up to you to really move forward. Take the next step to what you're desiring. You may be already feeling this energy, and if you are, definitely get like the end picture. Don't worry about the tiny steps. Just try and get a grand image. And when you have the King of Swords, and this is like heavily when you are making this thing and you're looking at the grand plan. The reason why you don't want to make these tiny steps is because these tiny steps will sway your determination of doing something. Because, oh, I don't know how to do this, or I can't do that right now, based off who you are at this moment, not when that step would be occurring, and you would shut that off. So really pay attention to the parts of your mind that are canceling out plans, and don't beat yourself up if you do struggle with that and you're just like, oh, I don't know how to do this, or I can't do that right now. That's okay. Know that you can't do that right now, but have a follow-up question. If I can't do this right now, then what can I do to make this possible? And then allow yourself to think about it in that sense. Like, don't let the thought that your irrational self gives you, don't let that be the final blow. Let that be the ammunition for another round, right? Really focus on the in-depth part of self. But you are going through a time where you're able to make a forward movement. Just make sure that you are moving forward in the best sense. So for tarot readings, you don't get tarot readings by anyone else. That's not how the art of tarot works. What tarot is about the connectivity between you and yourself with the divine and how you're working with yourself. We can figure out why you are shaky about if Tom is your crush or not, and figure out how to, figure out what the communication problem could be on your side. If it's a lack of hearing, or if it's a lack of like reading the energy in the right way. In that sense, but from an external standpoint, where I'm not going to be able to get anything from that. But I do appreciate the chat. The donation, the chat. What the hell? I meant to say the donation. Excuse me. I got you though. Well, let's get that. Let's see what's going on with this situation. No, this isn't a new account. This is the same account. But first we have the Nine of Cups. Right now with the Nine of Cups, just a genie in a bottle reverse. So there isn't really a wish being brought forth. There's an impure feeling or impure feelings. This could do with an abundance of feelings or just having a test of your own stability within yourself. Oh, yours is a new account? Oh, word. Oh, yeah, you said this. Oh, word. Never mind. I read that the wrong way. My bad. I read that the wrong way. But definitely see where your feelings are coming from in this sense, because this is like a test of almost like an internal viewing point, like a chance to get more emotionally mature. And that's not to say that you're like going out screaming at people. It's just saying there's parts of your feeling state that haven't quite been scoped out. So definitely look at it from that sort of angle when it comes down to how you're feeling, because right now, even within yourself, you're not really too sure how you're feeling. You're not really sure if this is a wish come true. You're not really sure if this is something that you're desiring. With the Nine of Cups, even just being in reverse the way it is, it's like something isn't put together with that feeling, with that nurturing element yet. Things are, it's like you're almost trying to like place the picture of the puzzle on top of the puzzle pieces and matching it that way. You know what I mean? Yeah, with the Knight of Pentacles reverse, even it definitely don't move forward with the feelings. The Black Horse is the feminine aspect of self, so don't move too quickly. Don't move too assuring with those feelings. Things are really shaky at this time, not really stable in that sense within yourself about what's going on with this situation. So kind of see like where they're stemming from. Was it the attention that sparked up feelings for you in that sense? Is it the fact that no one has been in that sense, or is it just you meeting people who are in a higher vibration that are aligning with you, and that's allowing you to raise your vibration and sense through that as well? Um, so seeing it from that angle is really going to move you forward with that situation and kind of keep you away from getting stuck in like a love trap. You know what I mean? And not meaning love trap in a sense of like a bad relationship, but love trap meaning like end up tricking yourself over a feeling state that isn't felt and more of one that's thought about. You know what I mean? And all relationships in life are karmic. All karma is an action. A karmic relationship is a relationship that's shown you the results of an action, right? We tend to think that karma is a bad thing. It's not. Karma just simply means an action. It's the effect. So when someone is a karmic in your life, it's because the effect of what they've done to your life has taught you valuable lessons, not only of yourself, but of like the realm that you have created yourself to be in at that time. You know what I mean? So look at it from that stance, Chica. It keeps you from kind of worrying about if someone's good or bad, and it allows you to actually see who the individual is without all these like other labels like convoluting and placing things up on each other. But yeah, definitely with you, and really like look at that in a sense, like see how the last relationship kind of broke you and how this new connection's kind of piecing that back together. um I think the funny part about like the whole twin flame journey is the first twin flame you have is with yourself, and a lot of spiritualists end up like not realizing that, or they'll realize it but they won't like actualize it to the stance of the reason why your soulmate would be karmic is because you're karmic to yourself, or there's lessons that you still need to learn from yourself that you might not be learning because it hasn't been shined a light onto. And that's like a whole twister in a can for some people at least. But a lot of people want to go twin flame theory like your past life connection. No, they're very much current life as well. It has to relate with some form on this earth internally that's going to relate with you and your flesh and your whole spirit, because you on this realm and this flesh have attracted them in their flesh. So there's things that everything matters when it comes down to it. Or anything else. I'm not the one to really ask about that. Um, I don't really condone the usage of stuff like that. If you do it, go for it. That's perfectly fine. I don't really care. But for me and my practices, I abstain. So I'm not the one to really ask for that. Some people have had better experiences on shrooms, and I'll tell you from my experience with shrooms, I had a lot more better time on that than LSD. But it depends on who you are and what you're wanting to do. Someone would definitely have a better more informative answer than me in this chat, though. Me personally, I don't know. Hands up. To meditate, I try to daily. Well, I'm usually always in a meditative state, but I see if you're talking about actively sitting down with the full like constantly conscious in fueling of being in meditation, I try to do that once daily. But other than that, I do my best to be in a meditative mood or mode. Uh, so that's interesting with that whole thing, Steve. A lot of people would think that seeing images would increase, and to some, if that's how they believe it, then that's just how it is for them. Really, we operate on a world of feeling. So if you can work with feeling things, it's makes up for the lack of sight, right? Because our senses, the way you sense anything is by touch. You can look up the definition of sense. It's something touching. It's something, you know what I mean? So it, even though the visual can be there, that can be applied to different forms for whatever you're doing with the visualization. It can help you fine tune some things, but in general aspects, it's that feeling that if you improve, it becomes stronger, depending on what you're doing the meditation for and however. But the more you're feeling and the more you're allowing to run through you in that self is good. And sometimes that feeling brings up an image or a color or however, right? But by natural stance, it's really just how open you are as a vessel to feel rather than to visualize. You know what I mean? Because we can open our eyes and see all sorts of illusions around us, and that still won't make us believe anything or know anything or really create anything. It's until we get that feeling, that spark of inspiration to move forward, that things even begin to like stack. You know what I mean? So it just depends, but depends on who the individual is. But like from a standpoint of view, from like how I overstand it, not doesn't really make a difference. And then it also just depends on what you're doing. Like, if you're meditating to see someone in their house, I think it would be better to visualize it than just to feel it. I mean, you could feel it for sure, but if you visualize, you'd have a direct answer. You know what I mean? Depends on what you're doing. That's a wild example to use, but it's the best. But it's like it's simple enough to understand. You know what I mean? Yeah, if you can get into theta wave, you're fine. Theta wave is the stage that you get into before sleep, and the stage that your brain remains at, like until the age of like 5. Which is why they start you going at school at 5, because 5 is the last year where you're still malleable. Well, you go to kindergarten when you're 5, because some people go to preschool or Head Start or whatever. Yeah, when you hear visualize, take it as a sensory thing as well. If you can't visualize a ball of light in front of you, then just feel it. You know what I mean? Like you can project that feeling out like, oh, there's not a light shining from the left and right of me, but I feel, and I'm going to allow myself to feel a force move forward from those sides that's going to illuminate that reasoning, that intention of that's light coming out from behind me is going to be felt instead of seen. You know. But yeah, staying in theta wave is perfect. If you can stay in theta wave, you're fine. That's for anything. Meditation, relaxation, sleep. That's just where it is. Melatonin is the huge key. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. How we doing? Do I believe in black magic? Not in the sense of how it's spread consciously, but I know what it's hinting at and trying to say. Um, because a lot of people think black magic is like the magic that you throw at people to hurt you. That's not it. Like black magic really is really just talking about fate or lack. Black meaning dead or property. So things that you have are going to be affected by your black magic, right? And that's just pessimism at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So being pessimistic, saying I can't do this or that's impossible or this is too hard, those are hexes and curses and other forms of black magic or magic that makes you lack, right? As opposed to white magic, which is magic that you are able to see. Because white does not mean like good and black does not mean bad. White is for sight. When things are lit up, that means that there is a force that is able for you to see. It's an external. And I mean, they're both interchangeable, internal, external. You can't really label one as the other, even because they're both balanced in that sense. But when it comes to light work, it's to make things more apparent to you. Um, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, because a lot of black magic that you do, even to yourself or on other people, depending on how it is, it's happening because there's a lesson from your soul that's being learned. So it's not a bad thing. It's just how the world's going to be until we're all able to really use ourselves as the learning instruments and learn our own way of connectivity with God. Until then, we're going to need to fight that duality, that split self of having a God-led life and a godless life. And the rational mind is the godless, which is why it wants to say I can't or this is impossible and stuff and look at outside of itself, because it doesn't have anything on the inside to reach towards and get nurturing from until you start doing that work, and then it's there. But hexes and curses and stuff, those are very real. The label black magic just gets shit on, and it's not understood why. Because then you hear black magic and then you hear hexes, and then some people think those are two different branches. No, a hexes goes underneath the label of black magic. The scale is what you're working on is black magic, whether that's increasingly distraught or like easy work. And then you have your other side, which is the white magic, from how much something can be seen to how little. Then you have your gray area that's in the middle. And then those are your two forms of magic, right? And that's your umbrella term, is magic. And then those two parents, and then those two parents split up into systems. And that's how, I mean, that's like same thing as you code a computer or any sort of matrix works. You're dealing with just labels and then what those mean, the parameters of them. So it's not just like a tiny thing, it's a whole conglomerate, like business or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? Think of it however you want to. It's all branched down from like a parent, and that parent has two sides. The masculine and the feminine give birth to this, or this triangle, the Holy Trinity, 3 being a number on its own for being the start. It's there for the reason. 3 is really our first number. 1 and 2 are separate from each other, but they're both born from 0. And from meaning like after. But regardless, I don't know. We can go deep on that if you want, but it's fun. It's a fun topic to dive into. But I don't know. it's important to know, because then like you have your practices, and then the practices of hoodoo and voodoo or Santa Maria and all these other things that people are afraid of. They're not even seeing the opposite side of it. You know what I mean? Like the protective forces that they mess with, the protection, the blessings that they give people with that stuff as well. It might not be done for a thing that you deem good on the physical, but they do it in light of a good purpose. So it's like completely avoidant of seeing the full picture, which is part of the divide and conquer plan. But that's something that has to be individually worked on. Um, because the only reason why you'd be divided is because you're divided internally. If you can't agree with yourself to not let things bother you, you're going to be split into disagreements of always being bothered or sometimes not being bothered. And that's just you living with yourself and really getting to know who you are. Not beating yourself up, letting yourself relapse if you have to relapse, not making yourself seem like a stone golem if you're not one. You know, taking your time, doing what you got to do. You have an eternity to do this. It don't matter if we have to die 1,000 bajillion more fucking times. Unfortunately, that's what we're gonna do. And if you don't like hearing that, then wait till your next life and it'll be okay. You won't remember a damn thing, right? We're here for an eternity. We're going to continue working on it until it's finished. And then we're all going to group up and move up to the next level. And then the ones that are still stuck on this level when we move forward are going to be there. That's why you have people who are considered subhuman or whatever the fuck, or like less than human because of their deranged actions. It's because they're operating off of an old operating system that we evolved from already. And then that's just gonna how it's gonna have to be, because until we learn to fully accept it and allow it to be, it's gonna be seen as an issue, which is gonna cause for it to be fixed. With no way for it to be fixed, it's for it to be manifested or infested into man, which is who we are. The species is man, and you either are a womb man, a carrier of man, or simply just man. You know. But regardless, yeah, whatever you decide to, call the forces, it's just what they are. We all know them as different things. It's the same entity. It really is. You would like to say that it's not, but they all come from the same entity, the same mother, the same source. I would see. That's what I want to do. I want to figure out what what that is for me. The death counter for how many times you had to die. Not only how many times did you have to die, but how many times the lesson showed up to yourself. If I could just get shown that before I come back next time, I'd greatly appreciate that. Appreciate love that. I mean, I think that'd be really fun. It's snowing. Everywhere around me, I hear there's snow. We just have really high winds. Welcome in, welcome in. Yeah, I'm hoping I got a high score too as well. Everything has to have everything has to have a cause. For an effect to be in any place, there has to come from something. A coin has two sides. These are just basic laws that we live under. People that really don't think that coins have two sides, they're not seeing the the true 3D nature of life. because seeing it from a one-sided angle is a 2D behavior, which is why I'm going to talk about it again. Cause I'll talk about this shit. That's why we live on a 2D Earth. This whole world is 2D from our perspective. That's what we can see, but we digest them in a 3D manner. We're able to see them as solid, which makes it a 3D thing. I don't know how long that was there for, but I got a call. I don't know where it came from, but I remember talking to a lot of spiritualists, and they didn't believe in that every coin has two sides, which makes zero sense, because how the hell are you going to say there's a God and a devil if you're not seeing both sides? You know what I mean? But I don't know. That was an interesting conversation to have with someone. There's never one. People, like, I don't know why it shows. It's an ego thing. It's a rational thing. I don't get down and dirty with that, so it's whatever. Staying centered in the self is honesty. Well, the edge would just be the counting as the face of the shape as well, because it would need to be encaved in something. You know what I mean? If in solid form, that is. Hands up on that. Because I'll break this. I know what you're saying, but I'll break the science down to like the forms of matter it has to be in. You know what I mean? We'll break it down even further. We'll talk about it in a physics manner. Don't test me on it. I have a whole thing. Unless you do, it's whatever. It'll be all fun games. But really, it has infinite face. I'm not gonna jump into that thing. I'm gonna talk about it a little bit. It technically has infinite faces. If you're really gonna talk about it, simply because that surface is not completely smooth, and every edge and ridge that it has, no matter how small or how noticeable, implies that there's going to be a shift within the faces. So, depending on how I could get crazy with this, I really could. I don't want to. We just find our way back home, though. The second we're able to go back home, everything will be good. And home is where the heart is. So just take you where your heart's supposed to go. Don't fit in with groups. Just do what you desire to do. If people like you and resonate with you and float around you, let them. If they don't, let them. Don't force it. Exactly, Daniel. It depends on it. It all depends, because really at the end of the day, it's it's keeping it alive, and there's nothing wrong with keeping something alive if you love it. So just follow your craft, always. No matter what concept of life you like follow, you're living life. That's the main focus, right? Oh yeah, hell is a very real place. You can talk to just about anyone that's had a near-death experience, and their encounters of what hell is are very like similar. You know, very very similar. Oh, that's every day as well. That's an everyday thing, Savoy. To be truly awakened is is to constantly be in that state. You know, there's never just having a one awakening. You will learn things today that will help you in this moment now, and in the future you will learn and be awakened to that being a lesser version of what you need to do actually, and then it will just happen again. It's a very interesting thing. Why'd you pop up twice? Come on. Birthmarks can tell you a lot about past lives or where you're from. Well, we can experience what it's like to be in a lower dimension. Um, Whenever you experience a block from a point A to point B plan, that's you experiencing a lower dimension. If you can't find a path to move forward and you feel stuck and blocked, that is a first dimension issue because there's something in a higher realm that you're not seeing to move around. Maybe it's a curve. Um, maybe it's like at a well, it had to be. It would have to be a curve because for the 2D, that's what it'd be messed with. But the 3D, that's when you get into depth. So it all depends on like where you're being stuck at. You know what I mean? If you can't see around something, it's because you're looking at it at a 1D angle or at a lower state than humanly able to. Because we're basic at our basic root, the human brain is just a gigantic, a miniature problem solver, and with it being malfunction, puts you on a first dimension, only seeing things on a 1D spectrum, not being very expressive in that sense. Oh yeah, because that's the thing. If they can distract you, um, if they can distract your mind with flashing colors, they can tell you whatever the fuck they want, and you might grasp onto it, but you'll never truly internalize it until it like dawns on you. Yeah, I already talked about it. It's the mindset of the ego. People are being too split. We already like we already talked about what the issue is. It's about working on it that we're doing next. And I'm doing things behind the scenes to get direct instruction of how to do this. Um, and then I have a little group as well that we're doing stuff with as well. So it's in the works. We already have what's going on with it. And we have plans as well. We're getting some things like kinked out and things memorized before we actually jump into the first stage. Which should be within like a week or something, hopefully. What's the cause? The cause is people being led by an egoic state. They're not actually awakened. They're wanting things to gratify their ego, yet give a sense of a spiritual awakening, which can very much be done when you're following your ego. Your ego can't create feelings, but it can dawn upon you the idea of that feeling, or the thought form to create that feeling, which would be self gratification and self pleasing. So it's just people being led by their egos and not seeing it. Everyone wants to know what's happening about everyone else rather than wondering what they can do to help their self, which is an externalization of what they really want. Um, some people are desiring revenge when all they're really wanting is answers. They're not really wanting revenge. They're just wanting answers. They want to know why they have such a strong attachment to something that other people don't seem to care about, and it's all down to just working through that egoic state of being. I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well as well. And not only that, but dogma. Dogma doesn't help either. Um, it's just the blind will lead the blind, and a lot of people who end up jumping on this path are lost looking for answers, and what they're met with as their first option, and mainly their only option until they start going and doing the work that they need to do, their only option is look at this person, they're being hurt because of what they did to you, and then now they feel good and big. But in actuality, when they're hearing about someone else being hurt and they feel better about it, they end up being the exact same character that they escaped, and that's why they are under attack, because their own programming of who they are comes out in the reading of, you don't like when people do this, but yet you're the root cause of why people do that because you're doing it to yourself, and then they get stuck in that cycle. It's like, well, they keep doing stuff to me, they keep getting hurt, and they need to stop. Well, you're hurting yourself because you keep interacting with things that remind you of them, and then now your whole entire life is based off of someone else's well-being. So they're basically just being transformed into like blind individuals. It like, and that's exactly what I'm talking about, Nelda. It if if you were truly a chosen one, do you really think you would find out on YouTube? Not on a collective reading, on a personal one-to-one reading, and dependent on what that person's using to read, you might be able to find out. But on a YouTube collective reading where it gets 1 million views, and it's only directed by saying you or collective or these terms to like pull at yourself to make you feel a part of something after being abandoned by a society, is a whole other like egoic trap. That's like a thing of the devil, if you're willing to talk about it in that sense. But that's what we're trying to break, is getting people started off with more resources to actually help themselves, rather than just being led astray and blind forever. um And it's unfortunate because the reality of it is, because of Earth healing the way that it is with the feminine part of self, the world is going to have relationship issues, because the world's relationship issues are the masculine being the main, or whoever's putting the most abuse or power into something being the holder of whatever, because that's falling apart. Relationships that are built off of that energy are also going to get fucked up and shown the truth of. So it's not that the stuff's not happening, it's just not happening in the way that they think it is, and it's making more mess. It's keeping people in a more masculine energy rather than a feminine. What they're feeling is the reaction of what they're hearing, rather than feeling the action of the divine act moving through them and helping them heal. Like, and it's unfortunate, but it's what we're breaking. We have to break that spell. Some people want to live in that spell. I met someone who said they were perfectly happy with being stuck in that cycle. You can have all of it. I don't want to live that life. I don't want to sit around blaming shit on other people and not having control over my life, over my own actions. Like, that's bizarre. I know I can protect myself. I know that there are people out in this world that will try and do shit to you just because your shoes are cooler than theirs or whatever the fuck. But at the end of the day, I'm so connected to who I am and the source of me and what I'm supposed to be doing that I don't have to fucking worry about the individual doing some shit. Even if it does land on me, who gives a damn? It's just going to be more things for me to work through. What did I not have my protection up against? What part of me was lacking in that sense? And then if I have to, I'll send it straight back to him. I know how to do some shit. I know I got pens and papers. I know how to light stuff on fire too. I got pins and prickleberries outside my door. I can do whatever the fuck I gotta do to get you to leave me alone if it has to go to that stance. But at the end of the day, like, just knowing who you are is a whole thing. Because sometimes it's like it's another thing. It's because like people don't want to defend themselves. Like, oh, I don't want to spiritually defend myself because of all these. Like, what if I defend myself and I get in trouble? What the fuck does that mean? That's a childhood trauma that's leeching onto yourself spiritually. That's supposed to show you that you're afraid to actually protect yourself and that you're needing someone outside of you to protect you. And that's coming from like fatherhood issues. So you're needing to work with that and learn to defend yourself, whether that's defense with words or defense with, you know, incantation, spell work, whatever the fuck you gotta do, but you just defend yourself. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Why would you feel bad to get someone to stop doing something that you don't like? When did when when did someone else control you to that degree and like heal from that point so you know that you're okay to do those things? You know what I mean? But that's just part of healing. And it's just part of the journey. You're allowed to defend yourself. Like, the whole point that magic's used on you is because you don't have the defense mechanism for it, whether that's doing magic back or building up more psychic defense. However, it's there because it was allowed in. So you can do stuff to shut the door on it. You know what I mean? That's not wrong. Your intention and the reason why you're doing it isn't to hurt the other person, it's to get them to leave you the fuck alone. That's perfectly fine. You know what I mean? Like, and then because that comes to, because it gets confusing, because then you're like, I don't want to be like the rest of the people who do this stuff. Well, why are you comparing yourself to other people? Again, it's you doing it, so you're not going to be like the rest of them. And who is them? Who have you categorized as them? You know what I mean? Who is them? Is them one person, or is them like a character on a TV show that now you've associated with a group of individuals who are individuals at the end of the day? You know what I mean? Like, who is they? Who are you describing as they? What's the scapegoat of they? What's this group? You know what I mean? It's about looking into that for who it is for you, and then seeing like, oh, if it's this is my problem then. And when you remove these labels, it's like there's no more mysterious power over top of you because you know what it is, and it can't sneak up on you or do things to you without you knowing, because now you know who it is, where it came from, and now it's just dog shit, because it's like, well, if I know that this person is doing this to me because they know that I slack off when XYZ happens and that it's easy to make me procrastinate and easy to stress me out, then I need to work on my nervous system. I need to work on my dependability. And then boom, you start doing that shit, it stops. It has to have an opening for it to even work. If you can find that opened wound, you're safe. Like, genuinely. Magic is not this big scary thing that will like ruin your life or like keep you under its palms. If you know how to, if you are an alchemist, and if you dare to have the title alchemist, you better know how to do that shit first. You better know how to transform your thoughts, because your thoughts are the last stage before things starts getting made solid. That liquid steel is being casted into solid iron form, and before it hits that pinnacle, you better have that shit straightened out. Simple as. Alchemy is a practice. It is not something that you just master instantly. You gotta go through some shit with it, and you better know how to describe that one situation in multiple different ways, in multiple different steps, if you've alchemized it. Overstand that too. And it's not saying that's wrong, but it's still just like, know what you're saying. If you're gonna apply a label to it, you better know what you are able to do underneath that belt. You know, we can do everything and all things, but what are you best at? What have you gone through to help you? Which the main meat of who you are? You know what I mean? The rest of it is there, but what's the root? What are the core elements that created you in that sense? Once you figure that out, you know, it helps. Which the answer is everything, but until you actually digest what everything means and is, you're not going to fully grasp it, which is why it's a day by day experience. You know what I mean? I don't really mess with Kabbalah and Luciferianism, so I don't know. That's not my area of study, so I don't have an opinion about it. I don't really look at theories anymore when it comes down to things of that. Esotericism is just, it's become exotericism. It's not even esoteric anymore. It's exoteric at this point, unfortunately, because that's just how people are. So that practice is kind of tainted in itself. Being perfect is a thing. It's everything is perfect. Everything in life is moving the way it's supposed to be. If anything is deemed as an imperfection, that's the imperfection in you that's seeing it. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and you are the beholder. You are holding the things that work, that create, and you are releasing them from your hive, your mind. So if anything is imperfect within your life, it is really just you seeing as imperfection rather than seeing it as what it is, which is just neutral. I would assume yes. I'm not sure. Water is just conscious in its state. Well, really everything is conscious because everything is constantly moving, right? If we're really going to talk about it, because consciousness is everything. The only thing that you really lose is awareness. It's about how aware you are to the but yeah, my brain shut off, excuse me. I guess I wasn't supposed to dig too much into that one. But yeah, everything is consciousness. It's about your awareness level. Uh, I don't really follow beliefs. I don't believe anything. I live for experiences, not beliefs. Um, so things that I say, the things that I speak on, I only speak on them in the way that I do is because I experienced them. I've walked the path. I've lived in those sort of elements before. When it comes down to like comedic lifestyles or however, I've walked those paths and I know what they're like. And I've met with certain deities and goddesses and gods amongst them, but I don't follow a belief. I have to experience it. That doesn't mean that I don't think it's real or not. I'm just not gonna have anything be solidified onto it to keep it pure. Because if it's meant to happen, I don't want to be faced with, oh my God, that didn't happen. That's impossible. Because then that's going to be something that I'm going to have to work through later. If that's something that pops up, it's something that pops up, but it's not a main focus of mine. What deities have I met? I've met a few. Most of them I don't know their names, unfortunately. Just unnamed beings or deities in my mind, for that sense. But I've met almost all the Egyptian gods and goddesses. That's just where I'm from. I've met with some of the angels on Saturn. I've met with the beings on Venus. I've had encounters with draconians. Other than that, like, I used to talk or have some form of relationship with Ogun. It's been in the waters. It's been wishy-washy. But yeah, the 7 archangels, the 78 Kabbalist angels, and most of the spirits of genius and the omnipotent angels I've had encounters with. And just a lot of beings I don't know the names of. I've met 2D beings that lay upon walls. Intergalactic. I don't know. It's hard to describe. And the only reason why it's hard to describe is because there's nothing to really compare it to on this realm. But I've met some very interesting beings, to say the least. Some of them are not very pleasant to look at. There's still one that I'm not comfortable meeting. It's something about the energy. And it's not like bad. It's just unusual. It's just so interesting. There was this one angel that I came in contact with. Still don't know the name to this day. I don't even know if it really was it was an angelic-esque being. I'll leave it as that. I haven't had many encounters with it, but it's a very interesting one. It's very bright whenever I see him, so. And it's not like a white light, it's a very deep purple light. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot. You got me thinking now. Now I'm stuck in my head. I'm experiencing things all over again. Hold on. What's your question, Hemi? I might be able to answer it. But here soon I gotta hop off. So I can take a few more questions. I've never had an encounter with Mothman, but I have had a lot of cryptid encounters. A lot of cryptid encounters. But welcome in, yeah, guys. Ask your questions, Demi and Savoy. I can do my best to answer them. I'm not really sure what you're asking about that, Hemi. Could you go into more detail? And I got you, Savoy. Did you want a reading on that or just to talk about it? Um, so I can do either or. A reading? I got you. I got you. Yeah, it'll end up being a discussion regardless. Yeah, I was kind of confused about that, Daniel. I was like, huh. Does it say 1 or 3? It says 3. Oh my lord. Alright. Alright, let's give you cards. So the first card we have is the 9 of Swords. You may be battling between the I cans and I can'ts right now, just having certain dreams that might be starting to speak to you as well. Overall, there's a headache. There's too many thoughts about things moving forward. This is just kind of like a test error to see where you're most confident in. If you're feeling not confident in moving forward in certain directions, don't dismiss it, but allow yourself to know that's what you're building up towards. But regardless, this is like a cocoon breaking moment for you. Yeah, even with the 7 of Cups coming out, there might be a lot of choices. That might be why you're feeling like you're not on the right path, is because all the choices popping up as well, just seeing everything kind of come at you at once and kind of keeping you at a shock value. But be sure to rest, don't move forward, wait on the divine to move forward with you, and just take a look at all the paths that you have in front of you right now. Because it's sometimes when we feel like we're on the wrong path, it's because we've hit a point where we have a lot of directions that we could go, or we end up meeting a bunch of feelings that are trying to pull us in different ways. So at this time, really stay grounded and see how to move forward. Um. Okay. So what's the main issue, Hemi? And we can talk about it for a minute. It's probably time for you to take a rest then, you know? It's definitely time for you to take a rest. If that's like the main message you've been getting, definitely take time to get that rest. Well, you can't know future events. That's the thing. The future's always changing. You can't change future events. Why do you feel like everyone hates you lately? How deeply are you looking into things? What's causing you to have a lack of self-confidence in self? Okay. I wish you well as well. The disagreements part doesn't necessarily matter. That's between you and yourself to work through. I'm perfectly fine with whatever. Uh, I'm not really sure what you're talking about, Pato, with that. Yeah, if you knew the future, you would not opt into it. That's why it's important just to have the outside goal and then just walk through whatever you have to go through. Keeping your mind stable in that set is the only way. I can only see as much as you're telling me, Hemi, and I'm not getting any information out of anything that you're saying, unfortunately, other than how you feel about it. And that's an egoic form of being, is only getting that one side. Tarot isn't to read about issues in that sense. Um, and things are only really evil because of your own seeing and your own ways of being and doing things and being, you know. So removing yourself from the energy is the only way you can really help yourself at the end of the day. You can't help anyone, and no one can really help you unless you allow them to. Well, getting their name isn't going to help anything. So, um, definitely spend time with seeing why you're attached to calling someone evil. Because that's a you thing heavily. No one can be evil. That's a projection from an internal state of being. From your own demons being plastered onto someone else. It's a whole scapegoating thing. You can't label anything without being a labeler, which means that you had it first. So always remember that. Well, I mean, I'll see the truth of a situation, and at the end of the day, um, that might not be what you're looking for. It is projection. That's what you got to be careful of. And projection really ends up being a form of scapegoating, because then you end up covering up someone else's image and so much of your own projections. It's just how it is. Well, that's unfortunate that I sound like Satan to you. Um, Unfortunately, from who I am and how I speak, if I sound like Satan to you, it's probably because you're not on the side that you think you're on. Um, so that's something that you can work on with enlightenment, in that sense. But with continued enlightenment, it's just to keep an open mind and move forward. How do you remove the veil? Work on your ego. Working on your ego is how you remove that veil. Until you actually see what your ego's doing, which is hard to do, that's what you need to move forward with. Well, I don't know. That might be what you're experiencing. Um, but it could be a plethora of other things as well. That's impossible to not have an ego. You have a misunderstanding, and I'm going to say understanding on purpose, of what the ego is. You can't operate without an ego. The ego is self, it's I, it's the observer, it's you. And literally, if you look up ego, it is I. It's literally I. So you can't be without self. And if you're without self, that means that you're more disconnected from who you are than you think. That means you're something else other than you, which would be somebody else, or something else, or another force outside of you. Which is not good, because then you're confounded to restrictions that aren't based off of what you desire and what other people desire instead, which rips you from being who you are and makes you a clone of someone or a puppet of someone. But I mean, then again, that's just westernization. And I'm just tired. That's probably why my voice dropped down, because I'm just tired. It happens whenever when I get tired. Crazy question, what's up? After this crazy, awesome. After this crazy question, I'm gonna probably dip out and do my stuff, do my things. It always is fun to learn new stuff. Oh no, that you not moving would still be a part of your ego. That's still you. An action and inaction is still an action. It's still a choice. If you didn't have ego, you wouldn't be on the flesh. You'd be up with mother and father. You wouldn't need to have yourself, because you would be with mother and father in totality, in that sense. Because running from a fire has nothing really to do with ego. That has, well, it does, but it's labeled wrong in that sense. It's more of a sense of fear. How do you find yourself? That's a good question. How do you find yourself? I can't find who you are, only you can. Through that, you just follow your heart. I can give you blueprints and tips and tricks to follow your heart, right? I can show you that path, but only you can walk down that path whenever it's given to you. Well, I'm glad, Jennifer. I greatly appreciate that. I speak about stuff the way it needs to be spoken about. To the best way that I can speak about it. You know, there's way blunter ways of speaking about it, but it needs to have a stronger foundation. Like we can walk with the ducklings all day long, but the ones that are ready to fly and go somewhere, it's like they need to start launching off. You know what I mean? I'm too logical. Yeah, welcome to my life. Mmm. That's fine. It's fine that it's starting off as a scenario. Keep adding to it if you need to. And if not, let me know what I'm supposed to be answering, and I got you. Exactly. Danger's real. Your fear is just a choice. Things can hurt you, but you don't have to be afraid of them. Fear is for others. True. No, I don't do drugs. I don't need them. Do you think for what do you mean by? Well, it depends on how deep you want to go with what you just said, with what you feel. Um, Fate has your feelings hold your destiny. It's your mind and your thoughts that hold your fate. So it depends on what you're feeling. Are you feeling what's coming from your heart, or are you feeling what's coming from your brain? That's the split that you're looking at when it splits between destiny. Fate is something that you personally try to control that ends up falling because of your actions. Destiny is a path of serenity and ease, which is why individuals have a hard time with their destined path because they're wanting it to go the way of their flesh rather than the way of their soul's evolution. Yes, that would become a part of getting closer to your authentic self. Learn not to be people pleasing. Don't be kind because people say there needs to be more kind people in this world, right? Be a good person. Be someone that stands by your morals. Be someone that does not hurt people, um, or have any intent to hurt people, you know. If you have boundaries that you need to set down between individuals, do so. Don't allow a fear of impurity or imperfection or not being something to keep you from being more of who you need to be, which is of yourself, rather than to fit the criteria of a label that would bring more liking to you on a physical note rather than in a spiritual note. Well, fate, you don't want fate. Fate's not good. You're wanting destiny. Fate can be removed from you. It's destiny that can't be. The polar opposite of destiny is fate. You can't change your destiny. You cannot change your destiny. Your destiny is something that's given to you from mother and father. It's fate that you can change. You're not destined to be broke, but you're fated to be broke because of a mentality that you have that's blocking you from that position. Whether that's you distracting yourself on the physical realm with sensory toys or a financial mindset, that's what you're dealing with. Fate is the mind. Destiny is of the soul. Your destiny can't be changed. Your destiny is to acquire something, a goal at the end. You're going to acquire that goal, whether you do it on the destined path or a fated path. And achieving it does not mean you have the whole thing in totality. You can have a tiny bit of it, and then you've completed your destiny. It matters of how much you're willing to go into yourself and remove those boundaries, remove those lacking points that keep you in a cycle of fate of, oh, it's not going to get as big as I need it to, or my dreams aren't going to be as accomplished as they should be. And that's a way of fate thinking. Your destiny already is showing you and telling you that it can get that way. You're just choosing not to. But that's the difference between fate and destiny. Your fate is fatal for a reason, and fatalities can only be created by man or by an occurrence that happens by outside forces. You know what I mean? And then look up the meaning of the word destiny, and that's what you're shooting for. It's the story of Cinderella. It doesn't matter what time Cinderella showed up to the ball, she was still going to lose her slipper. She was still going to have the dude track her down. Fate was the three sisters putting on the crystal shoe to not fit in anyone's foot. Destiny was them arriving to Cinderella and being like, yo, is this your fucking shoe? Like, that's what's popping up with that sort of thing. You know, fate can go fuck itself at the end of the day. If you're on your destined path and doing what you need to do, it's happening for you. Only reason why you have fate is because you're doing things you're not supposed to be doing. And how do you do things that you're supposed to do? Listen to your heart space. Do you really want to do this? Yes, I do. But I don't want to because XYZ. Well, if you listen to the but end of it, you're listening to fate. If you're listening to the initial being of like, let me do this, that's your soul. That's your destiny. And the longer that you stay in that internal struggle is the longer that your external reality is going to struggle, trying to give you what you want when you're actively disregarding it. You know what I mean? Yeah, a lot of it is a scam. A lot of people won't actually talk to you about what's going on. They'll give you their like personification of it. Like the truth is known, it's either hidden or poorly translated to people because it's translated as I heard it from someone and I hold this person up in high standards or whatever, rather than actually doing research. And research meaning to research it. Once you hear it, you got it. You just have to go back into your mind and research it, study it, put it to its test. What's to test the physical reality around you? If you get something and you hear about it, put it to test on the physical reality. This is your experimental area. You're told, oh, if you do these things, you can talk to your spirit guides. Can I? Let me see if I can. Let me see if it works for me. If it works for you, awesome. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Both. There's no stronger one. They're equal playing parts. If you feed into fate more, you will have a fated life. If you feed into destiny more, you'll have a destined life. Regardless of it, it's all destined to happen. It just matters what path you choose. The destined path is that you're going to choose the better option that resonates better with you. The fate is that you're going to stay within a struggle. You already know the answer. You're just fighting yourself to see it and to follow that path. But that fate isn't supposed to lock you down either. That fate is supposed to show you, hey, you're in the situation because you didn't do that. So next time something like this happens, follow your heart. That's all it's telling you. It's not telling you, oh, you need to be punished and learn all these lessons. It's just telling you the lesson to your face, and to go on your destined path would be to fix it immediately and not, wait the second or wait the day. If you can control the mind, you're good. If you can't control your mind, I don't know what to do. That's what we got to work on first. But you don't need fate. You need destiny. The ego just wants fate because it thinks fate will teach you a better lesson or show you a better way of being. It just wants to be proven. It wants you to live through the worst so that in your next incarnation you'll be less able to fight against it, because it wants you to live this fear-filled life because society's been ran by fear for however long. But yeah, it just depends on how deep you can take people out with these things is all. Some people can't be let out into these waters. It's not that they can't swim, they refuse to. But yeah, I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna go finish up my stuff. Regardless though, it's always a pleasure being here with you all. I truly and sincerely enjoy it. If you need to email me, there's the email. If you're wanting to donate, the donation stuff's there as well. If you're wanting or interested in any of my services, the website's down there as well for my services. Regardless, I love each and every one of you all to the moon and back tenfold and forever, and I will see you all later.